What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 4, I believe, at this point of Tough Runs Don't Last. It's a running podcast with your host on screen here. I'm Graham Powell. That's Michelle Zingoulis over there. Say hey, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
There you go. Cool. I want to switch it up other than the what's up. We got a few things we're going to talk about. Both of us ran a 1 mile race in Searcy, Arkansas over the weekend. It was a state championship race for the Arkansas Grand Prix Series, the 2024 edition, something like the 42nd overall. But it was a very fast race, 1 mile, and a lot of fast people with it being a state championship Grand Prix race. And a couple of mishaps in between, or more, well, I guess it was in between. But we'll talk about that, our experience with it, and then some. And also, probably do a preview of I guess, no, probably. We'll do a little bit of a preview of the Boston Marathon, which is not tomorrow, but next Monday in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. And we'll talk about that, some of the other world marathon majors, and more. Okay, so our 1 mile race was Saturday. We got there. It was a 30-minute drive. You and I rode there together.
Mhm.
And so we get there, we get our packet, uh, all that stuff. And then the first race started. There were what, 4 heats?
Yes.
Okay, so with it being a 1 mile race, there are 4 heats. They give like a 20-minute, time allotment for each heat. Heat one was the elite heat. Started out at 8 a.m. sharp. How it worked is you all men that are 6 minute miles and under are in that group, and all women that are 6 minute 30-second miles and under. They all ran together in that group, and only like a handful came in over that. I mean, it was a very fast group. The winner finished in something like 4 minutes 33 seconds, something along those
It
lines.
was crazy.
Yeah, it was very fast. It was very fast last year. I don't know that anybody broke 5 minutes last year. I think they did. Yeah, I believe they did. I think they came in at like four, but like the 450s. To come in at like fourth in the 430s, very fast. So it was it was an entertaining elite heat. Of course, if you're there watching it, you really only see the beginning and end. Of course, just based on where you're positioned on the course. But the course itself, you run. It's a straightaway for a while. You take a pretty wide turn, and you do a wide turnaround on the way back, and then you just run back. So I started my kick essentially once I rounded that curve, and my heat was third. Like yours was second. So let's talk about your experience with it first. So you went from you were originally just in the fun run group, right? And then you
Yeah.
switched it over at the last second. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. I realized that the fun run was the kids, basically the kids race. But that's not how it was advertised. It was advertised as like all ages, non-competitive. And so I originally was thinking that that would be a good heat for me because I'm not competitive. I'm not in the Grand Prix series. I'm not trying to, get points for a team.
Yeah, I'm in the Grand Prix. There's a difference between our goals and what we're trying to do. But real quick, though, if it does say all ages, would that also imply that kids are going to be involved?
It does, but also assumed it would be people like me. And then I just have anxiety, and I was starting to realize that it probably would not be people like me. And I am glad that I switched because it was probably 90% children.
It was so many. It was basically children and their parents,
Yes.
and it would have looked really funny. Part of me wishes you would have continued to do it, and because it would have been really funny, just you out there by yourself running with a bunch of kids. And it would have been even better if you were taking it like really seriously, like
It
trying to
would have
beat some
been
of those
something
kids.
for sure.
Yeah, I would have been highly entertained by that, and other people would have been confused. But I would have been, like I said, I would have been laughing over there by myself, as I often do with a lot of things. I find a lot of things funny that some just find weird. Well, to me, that's what makes it funny. But when did you first realize that, oh, I probably need to be in the other group? What made you, what made that go through your head? Because I may have been in, I think I was in the bathroom at the time this happened.
So we had picked up our packets and I was just reading the information about the race, when the heats were starting. Um and that's it. I think it even said something about like kids on the heat 4, and that's when I was like, I feel like this is not the heat for me. And so I went and asked the people at the packet pickup if I could switch to the other heat. And they thought it was going to be weird because of timing chips, but I had a timing chip in my bag. So they said, since you have a tiny timing chip, just go for it.
So they
So
didn't think that the kids run or the fun run was timed.
I guess because she was surprised that I had a timing chip, even though I had signed up for the fun run. I don't
Okay.
know for sure, but she was surprised when I pulled it out of my pocket.
All right. So, well, yeah, I mean, it's just volunteers at these things. So it's
Yeah.
basically they get a job and that's what they do. And you don't often get a curveball. Hey, can I switch heat? But I mean, stuff like that does happen. So, makes sense. But tell us, okay, we got video. I don't know if you posted it. I saw you posted mine on our, what, Instagram?
Yes, mine is there as well. I just combined them into one video. So,
That's right. Our start, that is.
yes, just the
We filmed
start.
each other starting and finishing the race.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, I looked again. Okay, again, going back to you, how'd you feel coming out the gate, and what was your goal going in? You were at the back of the pack.
Yes, I knew
Like,
I was still going to be slow. Even though it was all women, all, I guess all times. I knew I was still going to be slow, so I automatically started at the back. But my goal was 13 to come in under 13 minutes. So, again, I do intervals, but I left my headphones at home. And so I kind of already started off not really hearing the timer in my pocket because I do carry my phone in my pocket. Not really hearing that. So it was a struggle throughout for me. Because again, I have to watch my heart rate, things like that. But I did not like, what did you say? Like kick, put my kick
yes,
in or whatever.
I didn't do this motion, but yeah, your kick.
Yeah. I did not do that at the turnaround. I walked the turnaround.
For those that don't know what a kick is, your kick is essentially just your last burst, all out energy until you finish. So in a mile race, you can usually start that a little earlier than you normally would. Or sometimes you just really kick at the end. But again, continue.
I started that probably even after the 0.75 marker. But I finished and I came in. My gun time was 12 minutes and 21 seconds. So I came in well under my goal time.
You did, and your experience with the actual race itself. Where would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, I think that's unfair because this is like a small race and I have not done a lot of those. Most of mine have been larger races, which are a completely different experience. And so just the crowd I thought was very supportive and the people were very helpful. And so I'll give it like a 7 out of 10, but it is not
Okay.
comparable to like a Litter Rock 5K or even like the Creep and Crawl, I would say, which is another Litter Rock race.
Well, okay. So should we talk about my experience with it then?
I think we should.
Okay. All right. So you were in the first heat. I was in the third, and so we I get up at the front because I made the mistake last year of kind of getting in the corral late. And by the time I got into the corral, I was kind of jumbled into kind of toward the back. So I had to do a lot of bobbing and weaving because it's not because you're on a road, you're on a 2 lane road, but it's not that wide, especially for that many people running. So I had to do a lot of bobbing and weaving. And plus you got like you do have like younger boys that are in the men's heat, because they're like, no, we want to compete, but they're not like little children age. So you'll have a bunch of boys that, young boys that really aren't very fast, but will get to the very front anyway, just because that's what their friends are doing, and they don't know any better. They're, young boys. So you do a lot of bobbing and weaving if you're wanting to go faster and you're in the middle part or the back. So I kind of made it a point to get to the front this time around because like, I don't want to do that. And me and another guy in my run club did that. We got to the front. He ended up coming in like second in that group, and we're kind of similar as far as ability. He's better. He's a better runner than I am. Um, overall, because I only beat him in the 10K, the Capital City Classic 10K. He's kicked my butt and everything else, and that was no exception Saturday. So, um, my goal was kind of just stay within striking distance of him. Not necessarily that I could try to pass him. I kind of realized early on at the quarter mile mark, I was like, hey, actually, this is when I realized it. When we had to bob through a couple of like I said, young boys that had just made their way in front of us at the start. And they did that, like a couple of them, they just walked right in front of me. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But when we were kind of going through, it wasn't like I had to do a year ago where I had to just go completely to the other side of the lane. And that probably shaved 3 seconds off my time, but which is a lot in a mile race. But when he went around this one young boy and just said, "Oh, excuse me, there, little fella," and basically, and just said it like, I don't know if it was that verbatim, but it was kind of that message and at that in that tone. I was like, okay, yeah, he is way more ready for this than I am, because I would have been like, yeah, I would have been polite, but like, as polite as I could be, but not like that to where I'm not sucking wind. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's winning this one for sure. So my goal is to just stay within striking distance of him. Um, because I was like, if I can stay close to that, I know I'll have a pretty decent time. And I did. It was not the time that I ended up saying I was shooting for last week. I had said, to remind everyone, I said my goal is to come in under 6 minutes. I did not do that. My official time was 6 minutes 26 seconds. So I was way off of my goal. Doesn't sound like I was far off, but in a mile race, nearly 30 seconds is a long time. So it would have had to have been like 27 seconds faster. And that you can cover a lot of distance in 27 seconds. I did not have it. And I just, my reasoning for shooting so high is this was the eighth Grand Prix race. I had set goals for myself in every single one, and I had met every single goal. So my thought was, and I was really kind of surpassing it by a lot, like the spring fling 5K we did. I said, I'm going to come in under 24 minutes. I came in at 22:36. My goal for the Capital City Classic, coming under 50 minutes. So 49 something, came in at 47 something, 47:40 maybe. So it's like, it's a lot to really, doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. So I said, let's just if I'm meeting every goal, I'm not setting my goals high enough. And I hadn't run the mile race in a year, and I did it in 6:30 last year, but I wasn't in as good a shape. So I said, okay, I'm just not setting my goal high enough. So, and let's just set one that's going to be really, really tough to do. And yeah, it was something I had no shot of doing. And really, in the elite heat, when I saw that like people that were way faster than me weren't coming in under 6 minutes, that was an early indicator of, yeah, this isn't going to happen. But it's already out on the internet, so it's out there. They're just going to know that I came up short. Came up short
But it was
um,
still a PR for you, correct?
by 1 second. By 1 second, I ran. This was the third time I've ran this race, and in 2019, I did it in 6 minutes 27 seconds, which at that point in time was a course record. But this was before it became a Grand Prix state championship race. And I really only ran it this race last year because I saw that I was the record holder in my age group. in my age group, by the way, not for the entire race. Like that's how I was a record holder. And sorry, eye itches there or eyebrow. So really, the only reason I ran it last year was just to see if I could beat it, or I don't know. It just felt like it's something it was something I wanted to do, and it was a Grand Prix race last year, and my record and all the others got obliterated. I mean, just fully destroyed. I think the new record now is like 501 or something ridiculous, and maybe even faster, maybe like 452. It is. I think it's under 5 minutes. Um, so yeah, it just got obliterated. And if I weren't in the Grand Prix, I wouldn't have done it this year just because, not because of that race. I'm not a fan of the mile race. From a guy that just wants to do half marathons primarily, that's you can find your groove in a half. Um, you're basically just running. I mean, you're really running the whole time in the mile, and especially if you're racing like I was. Now I looked fast for my heat. Uh, I mean, I came in I was the third guy to come in
Yeah,
my heat.
you were third.
So for a non-elite runner, I was fast. But yeah, I PR'd by one whole second. But hey, that's a PR. So
A win is
I,
a win.
yeah, I mean, I was eighth in my age group, but that's to be expected at a race like that. And it kind of worked out because we were waiting for the results for a long time. And when I kind of the elite heat results were out long enough, or those were out,
Mhm.
and I at least thought to look at those. And I was like, I knew that they gave awards to the top five in each age group, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not placing. I'm like, we can go, like we can go get some breakfast or whatever. We did, which was get breakfast, and we'll talk about that too. All right, so uh, there was a to get into that there was an award or not an awards a results issue, and the timing service put out something on the Facebook explaining the mistake. They got the mistake corrected. The only thing that resulted in that was they had to put in everything manually rather than things just automatically uploading. I don't know how that works, the timing and all that, but basically everyone had to wait around for the results. And like we stuck around for close to 2 hours, right?
Yeah, we didn't leave until a little after 10 a.m. and the last heat went, I believe, at 9. So I mean, overall, we were there from 7:30 till almost 10:30.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and that was the first time that's happened. And these things, you do enough of these things, that happens. Like there's going to be some kind of issue with the race, but this was a very minor one. Fortunately, we didn't have to be anywhere anywhere, so we just had to be at a ball game last night, which we went to, and even I found a way to be late to that, but not too terribly late, but late enough. So we don't have to get into that unless you just want to. But it was, yeah. I at least thought that we knew that you didn't place,
Right.
and I realized, I'm pretty certain I didn't place in this, so we can get out of here. So we did that and we went and got breakfast, but that was the only real issue. And they even, like I said, how did you get your time? Because yours wasn't uploaded. Mine got uploaded while we were waiting to eat breakfast. So I was like, well, that was quick, all things considered. All right.
Yeah,
So
so I
when did you
actually
get your time?
I got my time sometime this morning, or it could have been late last night. After they posted about the issue on Facebook, they had said if you still don't have a time, it might have been because you got the wrong timing chip or something like that. And so, again, it wasn't important that I had an official time, but I still reached out just asking if that was the issue with me or if there was something else. And they just replied back saying that we got your time fixed. It's uploaded now. And so I was able to see it this morning. Um, but I messaged them last night around like maybe 10 p.m. um, ish. I don't know. So I got mine probably 20. I finally got to see mine 24 hours after the race, just because of the issue that happened.
Yeah, and like that's crazy to think that uh, something goes wrong, so you have to manually punch in each time because it was a large race. Like it wasn't small. It wasn't very small. It was a lot of people, and I think they were having to tally up the times as people were rolling in. Like that's crazy. Like that's a stress level I don't want to deal with. Um, but
Absolutely.
and he was and the owner was even saying, I mean, going above and beyond to me, uh, saying, not to me personally, but just in my opinion that, hey, if there's a mistake, let me know. It was just overly, he was very apologetic. I won't say overly, but he was very apologetic. And I don't think anybody cared really at the end of the day because they got mine right. Mine was spot on. So like, I don't know how they did it, but I mean, it was pretty spot on. You got yours fixed. So, all is well. Just a little curveball thrown at us. I am rocking the Wildcat Extra Mile shirt. It's a textile shirt. And it's for the wild. It's based on the mascot and all that Harding Academy, the school and the grade school in Searcy, Arkansas. Just benefits. I don't know, something involving them. I'm not sure exactly. Athletics program, maybe. I don't know. Cross country. I don't know. But it's a fun race to do. It's well organized. It's well done for what it is. I just don't like the mile distance. It's a It's a very fast race, and that's not always my favorite. I'm more of the find my groove and go. Like so for when the half marathon is your favorite distance, the 1 mile is probably not going to be your favorite on the list of races to do. The one good thing about it is you're done in 6.5 minutes, and you're done for the day. And we got to get out of there and go get breakfast, and yeah, enjoy a nice little morning in Searcy. The breakfast place itself was pretty amazing, I would say. There on the downtown Searcy Square. All
It was
right, what
called Chit Chat and Chew, which I just thought was the cutest name. And so I just wanted to make sure that we call that out because it was very good. The service was excellent. It was a cute place, had a nice view of the courthouse, and it was nice. I enjoyed it.
which I thought was one of the cooler looking courthouses in the state. You're making that head motion.
We disagreed on that.
You didn't think it was a cool looking courthouse?
I mean, it was a cool one, but there's definitely better courthouses in our state than that
Yeah,
one.
to me, yeah, I mean you could be right, but it's up to me it's up there. But anyway, yeah, you had a pretty good looking omelet. I ended up getting 3 pancakes, uh 2 eggs sunny side up, and 3 strips of bacon. You could add that as a side, the eggs and bacon, for just 250 more. And it was incredibly reasonably priced. So I just for $11, 3 pancakes. I thought it was your basic IHOP short stack, pancakes. And then okay, for one, they have a challenge, right? Where if you eat 3 pancakes the size of a dinner table or a coffee table,
They
what's
were
the table that you put on the side of a bed?
like an end table. The challenge, the pancakes were probably like a foot and a half diameter. Like they were massive pancakes.
And at least probably an inch thick. So
Yeah.
I mean, massive. One kid did it, and I saw them come out, and your back was turned. You saw the look on my face, and you knew something was going on. And I was like, yeah, this guy just brought out some just the biggest pancakes I've ever seen. And they when point of me saying that is I thought somebody else was doing the challenge when they brought out similar looking pancakes. I was like, "Oh, somebody else is doing the challenge," and they just kept walking my way, and I was like, "What's going on?" And he just lays these pancakes down in front of me that are bigger than my head, and I was able to eat one of them along with the eggs and bacon. and I was very full. I and even in the to-go container, brought them to go, which they're still sitting in my fridge, by the way. I had to cut them in fourths just to fit them in the one to-go container, which I should have gotten to, but I didn't because it kept popping. Any speed bump we hit on the way back, the lid would pop open, and yeah, so very delicious pancakes, just massive, and I got way too many. But hey, I've got dinner or breakfast tomorrow, probably breakfast tomorrow. So fun experience in Searcy. I don't I don't know if I'll do it again. I'm sure I probably will if I'm in another Grand Prix series or anything like that. But fun race. I'll give it a good. I'll give it an 8 out of 10, just because of the uh, fact that it's just not my favorite distance. Like it nothing to do with the race itself. Um, And if I want to be just a real strict and just deduct a point for the timing issue, sure. But I really, that wasn't even an issue, just because everything got fixed. So, uh, 8 out of 10, pretty good score, solid race, and yeah, this completely different environment for me next weekend. I will be pacing a half marathon in Little Rock, the hometown half marathon. I believe it's on the riverfront or along a river trail. So if you're interested in that, visit Hometown Half. Well, just Google Hometown Half Marathon. It's put on by Bodies Racing Company, and I'll be the 220 pacer, I believe. I'll have to recheck my schedule, but they got a 5K, 10K, and half marathon. Pretty cool looking medal. So if you're interested in that, there's plenty of time to register still. So, but be sure you do it before Friday. And I don't know, come run out on the river trail in Little Rock. Uh, great place to do it, especially if it's a nice day. So that's what I have going next weekend, and lots of mowing. What's your running plans between, well, after this 1 mile race here?
I am not registered for any races anytime in the future. Um, my next plan is to do, oh, what is it? The Run Local series, which that doesn't even start until October. So got a ways to go for me.
Do you really think you're done until then?
Probably.
Yeah, you had some mixed feelings coming into this one. I know that you really were second guessing yourself, at least as far as doing it.
And it's hot in Arkansas in the summer. And we are starting to get to, like, we are in spring, but today was pretty hot and humid. And
It's
so
79 degrees out right now, so which is warm enough. I've got my AC on and my fan going above me right now, so it makes sense.
I'm not an outdoorsy person in the summertime. It's too hot for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't mind the heat. Um, I don't want to be chilling in my recliner in the heat. Like I'm gonna have my AC on. But as far as exercising in it or just being outdoors in it, doesn't bother me. In fact, I'm one of the weird. This is very against the grain for runners. Most runners I've learned would much rather run in the cold than in the heat. I'm the opposite. I would rather work out and run, even do a race in the heat rather than the cold. Now, if I'm going to PR something, it needs to be cooler. It's got to be in like the 40s or 50s if I'm looking to PR, because I'll get too hot and it'll just slow me down. It does have an effect on me. I just don't mind. I don't mind it. I don't mind the heat. So if you had to run in the heat or cold, which do you prefer?
Oh,
Run, walk, whatever.
I would much rather run in the cold. Um, I'm very much on the of the mindset of I can always put on more clothing to like warm up. And so running in layers is fine if you need to like take your jacket off or something like that. But I can barely walk like a distance in the summer when it's 90 degrees and 90% humidity. Absolutely not.
Okay, but all right, let me pose this question then. All right, so I paced my very first pacing gig was on January 20th. in North Little Rock along the river trail, and it was 14 degrees, and there was snow and ice on the ground. Like on the path we were running, there was snow and ice. And I maintained my pace. It was a 2:30 pace. So I came in at 2:29 whatever, 50 something, like 52 or something. But it was very cold, and I love to get up and go do a half. I'm as excited as can be, complete weirdo about it to most people. But when I got up at 4 a.m. to go let my dog out, like I wasn't planning to get up at 4 a.m., but he needed to go out. So I got up and I let him out. And of course, I'm shirtless. And when I open the door and he goes outside and that cold wind hits me, I was really second guessing my life choices. I was like, I'm really about to go out in this and run. Would you rather run or do a race in that? Like you're in any distance, let's say a 5K. Would you rather go do it in that or when it's 90 plus degrees?
14 degrees, snow and ice on the ground, 100%.
That's crazy. A 5K?
I would much rather do it in the cold than 95 degrees. Absolutely.
Like it's cold. Like it hurts when it's that cold. Like
I
I had on 5 layers on top and I didn't get remotely hot. I did not, my hands and I wore gloves. I have these really nice, like semi expensive gloves made just for running and to keep you warm, like winter, like weatherproof, rainproof, all that. And so I'm having to hold a sign. I was using my right hand. My right hand was frozen for 2 miles. I mean, frozen. Like I could not feel my hand for 2 miles. I didn't feel comfortable until the second mile. I was like, okay, I'm like normal. By then I had moved around just enough, to feel comfortable. And I was fine really the rest of the way. But I mean, the guy was who was handing out water was breaking. I started to reach for water by mile 6 or something because I wasn't thirsty until then. And he said, "No, take this one. There's this one's not frozen." He was having to go around with a stick and break the ice off of the cups of water. Like that's how cold it was. You'd rather run in that than just a 90-degree day, which you should be used to at this point in Arkansas.
I understand that I have lived here most of my life, and you would think that I would be used to 95 degrees and the high humidity. I am not. Every summer, I am caught off guard and shocked that it is so hot and humid. And so I stick by my choice of running in the cold. I'm less likely to die in the cold than getting like heat stroke because it's 95 degrees outside.
I
Most
mean, some
places don't get 95 degrees. We're special for some reason.
so you'd rather just I mean, I guess if you freeze to death, you can be thawed out and brought back to life later.
Exactly.
All right. So interesting reasoning there from Michelle. Yeah, I guess from working in hayfields as a teen and always working in the yard and playing football back when they allowed two a days, it was and like unrestricted two a days. I guess I've just kind of been trained to be acclimated to it. Oh, and just, being born and bred in this environment, I guess I'm just naturally going to be used to it. Again, I don't enjoy it. I don't go outside when it's 90 degrees and say, "Oh man, this is amazing." But I can go run in it and not feel like I'm dying. I'll put it that way. As long as I stay hydrated and I drink more water than probably any person on earth. At least it's up there. So anyway, interesting little side info, bonus material from Michelle and I. Uh, care to add anything else to that argument to state your case? Because I feel like I made a solid one, but most runners would side with you.
Which I think is enough in and of itself that most people are going to side with me. Most people don't want to be hot and sweaty and gross. Maybe it would be different if we lived somewhere with like a dry heat, like Arizona. Um, but we don't have the dry heat. And
Nope,
so,
it's very humid and sticky and gross, and I like to be all those things when I'm out working out. I want to be drenched, like in sweat and grossness. Otherwise, I don't feel like I've done anything.
it's just where we'll have to disagree.
I mean, do you feel like you really got in a really good run or workout though? If you're not, if your shirt just isn't, super sweaty.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's that. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. All
Yes.
right. So let's cap things off talking about the Boston Marathon next weekend or next Monday, not tomorrow, not April 8th. It'll be April 15th, I believe, is if my math is correct. There
Yes.
is. Oh, you know math now.
I do know math. It is April 15th
Okay.
because I'm on the website.
All right. You didn't feel okay. I was gonna say you didn't know math when you're entering the
What?
tip info on the receipt yesterday, but we don't have to talk anymore
It's
about that.
it's fine. I don't have to know math.
Okay. I was gonna say, is it fine? Your face said otherwise, but anyway, you got it right. Um, okay, moving on to moving on to the Boston Marathon, not Michelle's math skills or lack thereof. Okay, I don't know what the field is this year. I know what's considered by many to be, and myself included, to be the greatest of all time marathon runner, Eliud Kipchoge from Kenya. He ran the Boston Marathon for the first time last year. He came in eighth. Um, I got to see the race in its entirety. I was in Northwest Arkansas last weekend or last year. This time I took that, or close to this time, I took that. I was up there for the Hawkeye half marathon and 10K, and I just took the next day off from work so I could spend an extra day with the fam. And so I got to see the Boston Marathon. And he was the anything Kipchoge is running a marathon in, he's going to be the favorite, but he came in eighth that day, eighth overall. I don't remember who won it, but it was interesting at all way as always. You don't always know what you're going to get with the Boston Marathon. It's oftentimes rainy and cold. It's usually ugly weather. The year Des Linden won it, she was the first American in like 40 years to win the women's portion of the Boston Marathon, and it was a very rainy, ugly, cold day, and she came out on top. It's not a race that people repeat as champions in. It's just not. You're not going to have the same winner year in, year out. It's just so competitive and it's such a tough course, as they say. It's been around for 120 something years, I think.
100.
What is the
This is the 128th Boston Marathon.
There you go. And the metal hasn't changed much. It kind of looks the same. And like they don't change it, they don't change the theme or anything. It's just that iconic metal. And it's considered the holy grail of marathon racing to get to run Boston. I know many people, that's their life goal is to qualify and to get to run Boston. And I know a girl who did run it a year ago, and she BQ'd at a certain race and went to the Boston Marathon and like BQ'd again. So she got to, like, you can BQ and go back the next year just by running that race. Of course, you got to BQ to get there, and then BQ being Boston qualify. And when you get there, you can do it again by doing the same thing in that very race. But it's a race that has lots of hills. Like it's not a Chicago, it's not a Berlin, which are two of the other world marathon majors. It's hilly. It's it's a limited field. It's only elite runners. By the way, it's considered such a it's such a prestigious race for a reason. It's a very difficult race to get into. You have to either qualify or raise at least, last I checked, $20,000 for charity, for a select charity like that the Boston Marathon gives you an option to raise money for. So you either have to be top 1% in the world at running, or you have to go above and beyond to raise $20,000 or more for charity. And let's face it, that's going to be really hard to do. So you're probably going to be forking over a lot of that money out of your own pocket. So Boston is one of 6 world marathon majors, and that's kind of the big prize in marathon racing for a lot of people, at least your average, not average runner, but marathon participant. Is people want to run all 6 world marathon majors, and the 6 are Boston, Chicago, New York City, London, Berlin, and Tokyo. Those are the 6 world marathon majors. Tokyo's really hard, has been really difficult to get into since COVID, post COVID. For a while, Tokyo was just limiting it to like residents of Japan. Like they weren't allowing people flying in for it, because they didn't want people carrying COVID over to the country. Makes sense. Chicago is the only one that I've run. It's the only one of the 6 that I've run. And that's because, at least at that point in time, which was, I got accepted 2019, I believe, which meant I could do it in the year 2020. And of course, COVID happened. So it got pushed to 21. I had an option to do 21 or 22. I just said, let's just go ahead and do it 21, which was the right call for me. But at that point in time, you had a 50-50 shot of getting into that race, of getting accepted. Like you have a window, about like a time, they call it the lottery. And there's an application period. It's like a week long. Some are like 2 days long. I want to say like London or New York is one of those. It's like a 2 day long application period. So not very long at all. And you got to get in and put in your application to run. You just register. And if you're accepted, your card will, your credit card, debit card will get charged, and then they send you either an acceptance or a rejection letter. If you're rejected, your card doesn't get charged. It's only charged if you're accepted. And I got into Chicago on the first try. The only other ones I have applied for was New York City, Berlin, one and gosh, one other, in London. And I applied multiple times to those, and I got rejected every time. At the time, I want to say Berlin, you had a 30 or 40% chance, and I got rejected for that. But at a certain point, like, because in, say, like 2019, that was like my biggest goal at the time in running, was I want to do all 6 world marathon majors. Like that was my like life goal, was to do all 6 of those. And then as time went on, and the more rejection letters I got, and it was frustrating, but it was mostly, I would look at the expenses that it would take, and I just said, this is not something I can do, especially at this point in time. And quite frankly, it's so hard just to get into one, really, that it's kind of a pipe dream for me, and I just let it go. I've not even applied to others since. I was like, there are a lot of really good local races I can do, and the half is my favorite distance anyway. So I just want to run 100 halves one day. So, and there's lots of those all the time around here, high quality ones, and even the ones that aren't that prestigious or extremely well organized, I can still get out and go do and get credit for. So that's a goal more suited to me. But the World Marathon Majors itself is something that a lot of people strive for, and they're going to add a 7th one day. And it's kind of funny, because the people that have gotten the 6, that have achieved all 6, they get what's called a 6-star medal upon completion of their 6th. They're at every World Marathon Major. If you get your 6th, they're waiting on you to put that medal around your neck. And you got to let them know in advance that, hey, this is going to be my 6th one, so they can have them ready for you. And I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big prize for runners all over the world. But they're going to add a 7th, maybe even an 8th and 9th at some point, but a 7th for sure. It's just a matter of time at this point. And that's there's been a lot of gripe from people that have already done it. They're like, "Oh, I got to go do this again." Because some have goals like I want to do them all in under this time. Like that was my goal. I want to do all of them in under 5 hours. And it could take me 20 years to do all six if that was something I still wanted to do. Am I going to be able to do that until when I'm close to 60? Like I don't know. Probably not. Um, but they're going to add six, or excuse me, they're going to add seven, maybe eight, nine at some point, just because why wouldn't you? There's a lot of great marathon races out there, and it's just more money.
Yeah.
The reason in sports that they're talking about expanding the tournament, expanding the college football playoff, and all that because it's more money. I mean, so the money drives a lot of this stuff. So, do you have any knowledge of what I just said, or are you learning it as I'm speaking?
I mean, I knew about the like world major that there were six. I knew there were six. I knew the locations of them, and I knew about like that final medal. Um, but I mean, my question for you though is money's not an option, or money's not like an issue. Which one do you go to?
You're saying if money isn't an issue.
Hmm. You automatically get into whichever one it is. Flights, hotel, everything's included. Where do you
Oh,
go?
Boston. I mean, easy. Just because I mean, that's the king. I mean, it's the holy grail. Some people just want to. Their goal is to just do Boston. That's all they want to do. They want to qualify for Boston. And here's the other thing. Like, see, I would have to be a charity person. Like, I couldn't, and that's where money's not an issue comes into play. Because I can't qualify for Boston. I could make it my life goal to qualify for Boston right now. Start and I still wouldn't come close. I still wouldn't. I mean, I could get in incredible shape and maybe come within semi striking distance, but I don't think so. I don't think I could ever do it physically. I don't think my body would hold up to that kind of training. So I would pick Boston just because it's so hard to get into. And here's the thing. Okay, for my age group, I'm 39 years old. Last I checked, I think I would have to come in under like 3 hours and 5 minutes.
That's fast.
And maybe 3 hours. I know back when I really wanted to do this when I was 34, you had to come in under 3 hours. Like had to. And here's the kicker. Just because you Boston qualified doesn't mean you're gonna get accepted. Like they say that the only real way you can for sure get in is if you come in at least 10 minutes faster than that, whatever your qualifying time is. So I would, if in order to have a real shot at doing it, I would have had to come in at like 2 hours 49 minutes and then some. I can't. No, I can't do that. My PR, I just set this, a month ago at Little Rock, a little over a month ago, and that was 4 hours 34 minutes and 53 seconds. So I'm the greater part of, I mean, I'm closer to 2 hours. I'd have to shave off. No, there's no way. I mean, there's no way. And the girl I'm speaking of that has run Boston, I mean, she was fast. Like I first, got to know her, she was fast, but she wasn't like world class. She wasn't world class speed. And it really in the back of my mind, I thought, I don't think she's going to, I think this is a pipe dream. Like it's a cool goal to strive for, but I don't think she'll do it. And she proved me wrong. I mean, she did it. But I mean, had to do everything. I mean, just runs every day, changed her diet completely. Got real like cardio fit, like real slim. And not that she was big at all. I mean, she was very fit to begin with, but got like runner fit, like really cardio fit, like just to the highest degree is the best way I can say it, and did it. I mean, and is going back to do it again this year. I mean, just an absolute beast of a person. So it takes skill. It takes genetics. It takes good genes and skill level. It takes extreme determination, which she did, and I mean, and just which includes all kinds of sacrifice, etc. And you got to have both of those things to be able to even have a chance to do it. So Boston, just because it's so difficult to do. But I've run Chicago and I was happy with that. I mean, Chicago was like one massive party. It was lit. I would love to do Chicago again. I would be good with just going back to Chicago and doing it. Now, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't pay I wouldn't pay to go do it because that's a lot of money. Like the acceptance fee was like $333. And that was 5 years ago or whatever it was. So I'm sure it's only gone up, or is at least pretty close to it. So that's a lot of money. But plus you got flights, you got hotel, you got food. It was an experience of a lifetime. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But I'm good on the one. Like I'm good on just doing. I knew it was a one and done for me, most likely. Never say never. But if I were to do another, now if somebody wanted to give me a registration for a major, which will never happen, because why? Why would they? Yeah, I would do another. I guess the better question would be if I could pick another one besides Boston, to do like one I'd have a lottery chance of getting into. Uh, I don't know really. Uh, See, New York City's so it's different because it's a process just to get to the starting line. You have to you have to be shuttled to the starting line. Like, I mean, get on a bus full of people and like the buses take you to the start. So that's a whole process. I mean, you do get to run through all five boroughs of New York City. So I mean, all have their very unique, neat qualities. But I would say I'd go overseas or something for sure. Just growing up in the States. Never been to New York City, but I would still love to just go back overseas somewhere to do a race. So I'd probably pick Berlin personally, but London it's a very cool one. But Berlin, it's fast. You run under the Brandenburg Gate, as you're coming to the finish. I would probably pick Berlin if it were me. Um, Tokyo would be fun, but gosh, it'd be so expensive to do anything in Tokyo. I mean, you just going and buying a Coke is probably $9 US dollars.
Tokyo's cheap.
It is
Like
not cheap.
for food and drink, it's very cheap.
Mm.
It's a lot cheaper than here. Um, like flights and hotel would probably be more than anywhere else for sure. But your food costs in Tokyo would be down.
Well, I had heard if you go to like a bar and just go get a beer, it's probably $9 and then or more.
You don't go to a bar, you go to a 7-Eleven.
Well, yeah, you do that in any.
You go to their convenience stores. Their convenience stores have everything. And they're like that's where people go. And it's cheap.
Have you been to Tokyo?
No, it's on my list. I can't wait.
Okay, I was like, how do you know all this? I know you'd been to China, but
Yes.
um,
Which also
yeah,
food is very cheap there.
well, yeah, any big city, you go to a 7-Eleven essentially, or at least their version of it. I mean, we did that, and I did that in Paris, like I said, and I found the greatest beverage I'd ever had in my life, which was some type of mango juice drink, and it was. I'm still trying to find that drink. I found it. I got to find a way to get it here. I mean, I could if I paid more than I wanted to, but you know, I don't know. It's just something I think about from time to time. But yeah, I would probably pick Berlin just because of that. Um, if I wasn't picking Boston just for the fact that it's just so hard to get into. If I was going just for the experience, I'd probably pick Berlin. But you can't go wrong with any of them. So, but that dream's essentially done for me. I'm on to other things now, more realistic ones. I put it that way. And yeah, I can tie that to the my goals moving forward. I think going back to or seeing how I fail miserably and achieving the one I set for the mile race. I think I'm good to going back to just more attainable goals. Maybe I just know what's attainable for me, and rather than just shooting way past what I should do, maybe I should set a realistic one and then just be happy if I obliterate it, as in achieve it and then some. So, yeah.
I think that's
All
a good
right.
plan. I mean, we want our goals to be achievable, but we also want them to be just a little bit past so that we have something to work for. And then when you get that, you go a little bit further. You don't want completely unachievable goals because then you get upset when you don't achieve them and you just stop doing it because why I'm not meeting my goals, why should I do this at all?
And that's probably why I decided to bow out of chasing the further world marathon majors. I looked at, well, primarily it was the cost. I was like, that is so much money to go spend on a race. Like it's so much and money that I don't have on top of that. And plus it's frustrating the constant rejection letters. Um, but some people do it. I mean, and a lot of those people are able to qualify though. I'm not one of those people. I'm getting in just purely on luck. And but I did get to do one, and it was a phenomenal experience, like 10 out of 10 experience. Chicago, that is. So if you can get into one, I mean, the expo is insane. I mean, it's amazing. You can get into one, and like it's one big party throughout. I mean, Chicago was so lit. I mean, it was the neighborhoods were all trying to outdo each other as far as who was the most cheerful, rowdy, excited. It was amazing. And so if you can do one, if you have the means and you're lucky enough to get into one, I do highly recommend it if that's your thing. But one is enough for me, I believe. So I will stick to the local stuff the rest of the way, and I'm good with that. So, anything else to add to this episode, Michelle? Anything we missed?
I don't believe so. I think we've covered everything.
Okay, right on. Side note, I'll give a quick shout out to the South Carolina women's basketball team for finishing the finishing the season undefeated, winning the national women's national championship. So congratulations to them. And in running news, like I said, I'm pacing a half marathon next Saturday in Little Rock. I don't know if it's the North Little Rock side. I believe it's the North Little Rock side, but I mean they say Little Rock, so hometown half marathon. You can Google, check it out, sign up there. I believe they're on. I don't know if they're on Run Sign Up, but I mean, you can give that a Google and register that way. I'll be in the 220 group, and I'll get my workout runs in between. And Michelle will be back next week for, I guess, discussion on that since she doesn't have any races planned in the near future. But you did achieve your goal
Yes.
at
I
the Wildcat Extra Mile, so congratulations on that.
thank
But yeah, and that's all I've got, and that's probably all you have as well, unless you have some bonus material you want to throw in. You're shaking your head no. So I guess we're gonna get out of here. But till next Sunday. Well, that was a bad close. We'll just say see you next time. All right.
Bye.
Yeah, see you next Sunday.